Hey, Jules Blessed Vegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. So I'm talking vitamin D. And like, what foods are best? Vegan foods. Oh my gosh. Now, why does this come to mind? Because I had a recent blood test, right, a week ago, less than a week ago. And I was trying to figure out, where my deficits were. And one of them was with my kidneys, which of course was a concern. So I spoke with my doctor today and we kind of went through the blood tests. And then the doctor was kind of casual and was like, oh, we're only a couple of points into, stage 3. They are so, like, that should be an emergency. Because last time they let me go way too far before they told me the problem. And they wouldn't have even told me the problem. I found out accidentally. So anyway, it's a concern to me. But one thing that I didn't notice when I was cruising through the test results was that my vitamin D was incredibly low. And I live in the high desert in California. I'm in the sun all the time. So I was like, what is the deal? Like, really? Why am I having trouble? Well, no surprise, when I looked a little deeper, one of the things, of course, is if your kidneys are struggling, which of course mine are, but it's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg, right? And then the other thing, of course, obesity, because vitamin D is fat soluble. It has to be absorbed with fats. So that's another thing I didn't know. So if I'm taking a supplement, I should take that supplement at the same time that I'm eating my avocado or my nut butter or, my hemp seeds or whatever it is. I need to take it with fat. And, it just said that the sun cannot get that vitamin D into you if you're wearing fat, which is kind of ironic. I thought they said you need fat to absorb. Yeah, that's my monkey mind. This weight is off. You guys are seeing a star that burned out long ago and is still shining. Like, that's kind of a funny reference, but yeah, this body is not the body that I've been working on for 70 days. Praise God. And praising God, today's my baptismal day. Yay to my parents who had me baptized at 14 days old. Just a little tiny whippersnapper. And such a tremendous blessing. And today in the church, they were celebrating Jesus' baptism, and I was stoked to be part. So yay God. Another thing was, this is a special day for me and my husband as well, because it was on my baptismal day that we finally met up after like literally talking on the phone for a year and a half at about $800 a month in bills. Okay. They didn't have cell phones. They didn't have deals. We were just calling across the states and talking for hours and hours. And finally we're like, we just need to get together and save some money. So praise God that worked out. But anyway, what a great day. All right, let's get into it. This is Jordan's Vegan Place, vitamin D food sources for vegans. I don't think this is going to explain that whole thing about needing to consume it with fat. That was a different article, but let's do it anyway. Vitamin D deficiency is a real problem in today's day and age. Jobs that require working for hour upon hour inside without sunlight can dramatically decrease exposure to natural vitamin D, which can be exacerbated if you live on a plant-based diet. Luckily, there are many different ways you can go about increasing your vitamin D levels, including taking supplementary vitamins, which is a hyperlink, and minerals, including foods, natural resources, and of course supplements. Anyway, there's a typo right there, but I'm going to be all right. Oh, another total blessing. Are you kidding me? I got a hold of that professor. She reset the test and I got 100%. If you were following me yesterday when I was pouting, God had a plan. Mwah. Love you, Father. I am stoked beyond belief. I can't believe it. All right. Your body needs vitamin D in order to regulate cell growth and also absorb calcium. Without these abilities, your body would not function as it should. There have been some links to a deficit in vitamin D leading to cancer, muscle weakness, and even mental illness like depression. So yeah, God bless our people up in Alaska and stuff who are getting 4 hours of light a day. Ugh, so brave. Therefore, it's critical that a person receive the right amount of vitamin D on a regular basis. The difference between vitamin D2 and D3. This was important, and and I heard a lot about this. When you start exploring the type of vitamin you need in your life, you may notice that there are some variations of the vitamin. For example, there's vitamin D2 and vitamin D3. Those who live a vegan lifestyle tend to get caught up in the intricacies of trace amounts of vitamin D in animal products. However, there are various other ways to get your vitamin D than through animal products so that you can stay true to your vegan lifestyle. Praise God. Because yeah, when I looked at the list of foods, it was all dead animal carcasses. Not even kidding you. Vitamin D2 comes from plants, whoop, whoop, and vitamin D3 comes from lanolin, which is from sheep's wool, or lechin, which is an algae, so that's great. Obviously, one of these sources is not vegan friendly, which means you must find ways to get the right amount of vitamin D from other sources other than animal products. The ultimate vitamin D levels. Over the last few decades, health specialists have recommended various doses of vitamin D depending on a person's health risk and history. For the most part, recommendations have been based on how much vitamin D could help prevent diseases. There have been studies in recent years that have shown that adequate levels of vitamin D could reduce the risk of certain people developing debilitating diseases, such as fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis. These are all painful, and even multiple sclerosis, all painful. There is also a longer list of possible conditions and diseases that vitamin D could help reduce, which means that the benefits of having the right amount of vitamin D in your body are great. Recent studies have found that the ideal levels of vitamin D for a healthy person should be between 80 and 100, or what is 32 to 40 ng/ml. Mine's 27, so I'm well below that 32. Unfortunately, as much as researchers would like for it to be true, there has been no correlation between vitamin D levels and consistent findings that it decreases the development of cancer or other types of life-threatening issues. Let's read that again. As much as researchers would like for it to be true, there has been no correlation between vitamin D levels and consistent findings that it decreases the development of cancer or other types of life-threatening issues. So like people who are just ODing on vitamin D with that hope, they're like, sorry, we have no evidence. But the truth is that vitamin D can do great things for the body and should be included in your daily diet no matter what type of lifestyle you're living. Vegan vitamin D concerns. This is a good article. I mean, it's a fantastic article, and I'll include it in the description of the video. It's probably a no-brainer that the first thing people get concerned about when they take on a vegan lifestyle is how they will obtain certain vitamins. Previously, people who were not vegan might have found that it was easy enough to... I wanted this new little tripod to not be so fat that I couldn't see certain words, but... Here we go again. Okay, previously people who were not vegan may have found it easy enough to receive the required vitamins into their body through their daily food intake. However, because vegan eating habits call for no animal products or byproducts whatsoever, the inclusion of some vitamins, such as vitamin D, can be more difficult. However, this isn't to say it's impossible. If you're new to the vegan world or looking into becoming vegan, it's important to understand that you can find vitamin D through other sources. It's also important to understand which of the following would be the best source of vitamin D for a person following a vegan diet before you embark on the journey. Too late. Knowing where to get vitamin D in a vegan diet is crucial to ensuring that your body stays in tip-top shape while also staying true to your vegan desires. Amen. There are plenty of sources in which you can get vitamin D that doesn't revolve around animals. Knowing what vegan foods have vitamin D, how to get vitamin D as a vegan, and what supplements work best for your lifestyle will set you up for major success in the long run. I think it's a very informative article. I'd like to get to the point where it's telling whether it can be absorbed or not and how you have to accompany it with that. Sunshine and your age, why it matters. When you're a baby, you may have a doctor that encouraged direct sunlight exposure for a certain amount of time each day. Alternately, you may have had elderly family members who's prescribed a specific amount of direct sunlight each day. A person's age does matter when it comes to understanding how to use sunlight as your source of vitamin D. If you or your family follow a vegan lifestyle, you can use the natural resource of the sunlight to give you what you need in the vitamin D department. But again, it's said if you're packing on pounds, it cannot get through that fat to make a difference. Elderly people. It's recommended that elderly people enjoy at least 30 minutes of direct sunlight to give their body the best chance to produce adequate amounts of vitamin D. Studies have shown that when a person over the age of 64 enjoys the rays of the sun for 30 minutes or more each day, their body produces over 40, again it's MOL/L, of vitamin D. Of course, this is lower than the recommended amount mentioned above, but vitamin D can come from other sources such as food or supplements, which can ensure that the 40 nMOL/L from the sun is boosted. In infants, babies are helpless in the sense that they cannot get the vitamin D they need unless their parents help them out. If your family's living a vegan lifestyle, that means your baby is too. It's critical for infants to receive the right amount of vitamin D in order to ensure that their healthy growth and development are sustained. There's conflicting reports about how a baby receives vitamin D, especially if the mother is breastfeeding. One study found that a mother's milk does not have sufficient amounts of vitamin D in it for the baby. This means that the vitamin must come from someplace else. Sunlight is a great option and can be a natural source of vitamin D. Again, 30 minutes a day of exposure wearing just a diaper on could work well. However, some health professionals say that exposing an infant to the sun without protection is dangerous and should be avoided. Either way, you can help ensure that your baby gets the right amount of vitamin D by giving them a supplement vitamin D through a dropper or using an infant formula that has at least 400 IU of vitamin D. This is a sure way to ensure that your baby gets the vitamin D it needs without possibly exposing it to the harmful rays of the sun. It is unfortunate that at this time, because of the break in the ozone layer and all of our poisoning and stuff, that in some places the sun has become dangerous. And I'm a girl who's had malignant melanoma, but as long as I am eating an alkaline vegan diet, I will do the sun, absolutely, over the toxic poisons of a sun protector. That's a hard no. How can you get vitamin D as a vegan? This is a great question that many vegans struggle with in the beginning because animal products are rich in vitamin D. The replacement of these foods can be difficult. Luckily, it doesn't have to be a difficult task at all. In fact, getting vitamin D as a vegan is pretty easy. Bring it on. There are plenty of food sources and supplements that are vegan friendly that still help your body get the vitamin D it needs to produce everything it should. Let's take a look at some of these sources that can help you with what you need without compromising your vegan integrity. One, of course, sunlight. As covered previously, sunlight is the best natural source and free resource at that can help increase your vitamin D intake without a sweat or maybe a little sweat. Of course, the sun does not contain any animal byproducts and is completely free and easily accessible at any time of the day. Allow yourself at least 30 minutes of sunlight exposure to ensure you get in the needed amount of vitamin D. If the sun isn't a great option for you due to your work schedule or life in general, you may think a tanning bed is a great substitute for the sun. However, this would be incorrect. Thank you so much. In fact, tanning beds can do more harm than good when it comes to your body and skin. Research has found that the majority of tanning beds out on the market do not give off UV rays to produce the vitamin D you need. Therefore, you're at risk of developing skin conditions such as skin cancer and other issues without actually reaping any of the potential benefits. Come on. Vitamin D deficiency. With veganism on the rise, many people are finding themselves with a vitamin D deficiency. And you know what? That was true for me. I'm definitely on I exceeded the lowest. Not by far, 5 points or something. But the doctor made it clear that a ton of people are having trouble, certainly not just vegans. Researchers have found that those who suffer from vitamin D deficiency suffer from more health concerns such as fatigue, depression, and muscle pain. While these are not the only healthy problems that can arise. There's a couple of typos in this article, but it's still good. How about while these are not the only health problems that can arise from vitamin D deficiency, they are the most common. Children are on the top of the list when it comes to being concerned about vitamin D deficiency. If a child develops vitamin D deficiency, they can develop painful bone disorders such as rickets. Rickets weaken the bone, stun growth, and can even cause deformities in the most extreme cases. That means that ensuring your child gets the right amount of vitamin D, vegan or not, is highly important. I think some of the plant-based milks are being fortified with vitamin D now. Between the ages of 6 and 36 months, children... Sorry, I did not mean to start giggling. I think some of you might know that I went to bed at like 4:30 in the morning, barely slept, and it's already 11:30 at night. Don't ask. I don't know how this happens. I don't know if I will ever find balance this side of heaven, but that's my story. So when I'm tired, I giggle, but I'm trying to hold it together. Okay. Between the ages of 6 and 36 months, children are most susceptible to rickets. You can identify rickets by paying close attention to low moods, digestive problems, and or bowed legs. Identifying bowed legs may not happen until your child starts to walk, but you can be on the lookout for other symptoms or just be on top of the vitamin D. Like, come on. With the increase in playtime indoors versus outdoor playtime, where exposure to the sun is more likely, children are becoming more likely to develop vitamin D deficiency if their food sources aren't doing the job. Following a vegan lifestyle can exacerbate the chances of children developing a vitamin D deficiency. So it's important to be in tune with the foods your child eats or the supplements. Adults can experience similar problems when faced with vitamin D deficiency. They do not develop rickets, but a condition of softening of the bones known as osteomalacia. You can treat the issue with supplements, but you can also avoid it from happening with the right foods that can provide your body with the vitamin D it needs before the problem occurs. Would you get on to the food? Thanks for bearing with me, friends. If you notice frequent bone fractures, muscle weakness, or general pain in the bones, you may want to speak to your doctor about possible osteomalacia or vitamin D deficiency. Keep in mind that a complete vitamin D deficiency is not the same as having low levels of vitamin D. A complete vitamin deficiency means that the body's not getting vitamin D at all and is not allowing the body to do the work of absorbing other ingredients. This can be extremely dangerous. Talk to your doctor if you're concerned about complete vitamin D deficiency. So for mine, it's just low. It's just low. I absolutely have vitamin D in me. It's just low. So finally, which vegan foods contain vitamin D? Another great question for most new vegan lovers out there is, which vegan foods actually contain vitamin D? Not all foods are vegan, and not all vegan food have the right amount of vitamin D you need. What does this mean? Basically, it means that you have to get familiar with the different types of vegan foods that do contain vitamin D in order to get them into your diet without any worry. Let's look at some of the best food sources that can give you the vitamin D you need in your life. Now, a raw vegan obviously may not be privy to eating some of these, but there's ways, like if you obviously grow things into sprouts and microgreens and stuff like that, you have a better chance. Okay, number one is mushrooms. Maitake and portobello. People love that. Easy to find and delicious to boot. Mushrooms of any kind are a great source of vitamin D. Some of the variations of mushrooms contain more vitamin D than others, which makes them high on the vegan priority list at the grocery store. They are wholly vegan and equally tasty. Maitake mushrooms have 786 IU of vitamin D per cup. This is a great amount of vitamin D from one food source, and you can easily add this to your daily food intake and ensure that you get the vitamin D you need. Another mushroom that is at the top of every vegan food is the portobello mushroom. 1 cup of portobello mushroom sliced up and ready to eat has 634 IU of vitamin D. You cannot go wrong with mushrooms in your diet. Now, I know a lot of people like the button mushrooms. There's like all different kinds, and it may very well be true, but these are the highest of the source of mushrooms. I could definitely reincorporate portobello. They're not cheap, but I could get an occasional. Okay, number 2 is soy milk or almond milk. It's safe to say that the traditional cow's milk is out of the question for vitamin D source for a vegan, but soy milk and almond milk certainly are not. It's important to check the label on your soy or almond milk before you assume that it has the vitamin D you need in it. There is vitamin D fortified, so enhanced just like they do with cow milk, soy and almond milk at the market. To be sure to get that one instead of non-fortified brands. It's a great substitute for cow's milk and has absolutely no animal product or byproduct lurking inside. With 100 IU of vitamin D per cup, you can start your morning off with a nice dose of vitamin D. And again, it's not mentioning the importance of fat being part of it. Number 3, orange juice, another great way. And again, you can leave the fiber. You can make actual orange juice and leave the fiber, right? That can be a great vitamin D source is orange juice. Also coming in at 100 IU of vitamin D per cup. Orange juice stands up to soy and almond milk in the useful department. It is a tasty way to fix a vitamin D deficiency in vegan diets that some are unaware is even a problem. Now it makes me wonder, what about the orange? Because I eat lots of oranges. Number 4, number 4, soy yogurt. Not my story, but let's see. Coming in at 80 IU of vitamin D per 150 grams. Soy yogurt is a great addition to any vegan breakfast. That's about 5 ounces. A little more than a half cup. It does not contain any milk products, which makes it suitable for vegans. It's a great taste and a great amount of vitamin D. Makes soy yogurt a win-win. Ready-to-eat cereal. Again, not my story. But while ready-to-eat cereals are fortified with vitamin D, aren't suitable for every single meal, they do offer some vitamin D. There's 40 IU per 3/4 to 1 cup. Ready-to-eat cereal could be a great snack or breakfast item. It's not the greatest source of vitamin D, but it could do the trick in a pinch. Number 6, tofu. Not all tofu has the right amount of vitamin D you may need, so be sure to check if it's fortified with vitamin D. Tofu is a great substitute for meat lovers as it gives the same taste and texture that animal meat does without containing the actual animal meat. You do want to ensure that tofu is able to provide you with at least 20% of your recommended daily allowance to count as your vitamin D source. Each brand is different, so read the labels and educate yourself. And I know not everyone's into that. I'm just giving you a list of potentials. Okay, I'm so confused. Don't even tell me. Oh my gosh. Okay. Remember I said it's a fantastic article? I'm losing faith. They repeated orange juice. Are you kidding me? Okay, how is it different? Fortified orange juice can provide you with 100 IU of vitamin D per cup, which is a good source of vitamin D. Orange juice is a great addition to any meal and adds a tropical taste. It's important to understand what kinds of foods you are eating on your vegan diet before determining whether they are a good source of vitamin D. Some foods are packed with vitamin D, but can lose their vitamin D value through the cooking process. Therefore, it may be required to eat some of your foods raw, yes, as many as possible, in order to keep the vitamin D count high. Certain mushrooms require raw consumption, as cooked consumption can cook the vitamin D right out. Too much of a good thing can be bad. Everything in moderation is the rule of thumb, which is easy to live by and apply to so many different situations. Vitamin D is one of those situations. While not having enough vitamin D can be an issue, having too much vitamin D can also be problematic. Overexposure to vitamin D can cause intoxication. Be careful when trying to add vitamin D to your vegan diet, as you do not want to overcompensate for a potential lack of vitamin D and cause more harm than good. With the information we've gathered here, you're fully armed to give your body the right amount of vitamin D it needs while still living a vegan lifestyle. Being a vegan does not mean you have to sacrifice your health. In fact, being vegan means you're doing what is best for your body, and because of that, you want to give your body the nutrients it needs to help you continue to live your best life. Okay, I appreciate the conclusion, but again, that was kind of weird. I guess it was the difference between fresh orange juice and fortified orange juice. I'll give him that. All right, my friends, that's it. I fell a little low. I'm 27 on, I think, a scale that starts at 32. My doctor was concerned. They know I'm vegan. It's still new to me. I'm still trying to find my way. But I was like, you know what? we can do this. And especially when it indicated that, once again, any form of obesity is going to reduce the body's ability to absorb that. But that's okay. I'm in progress. Day 70, clean eating, yay God, and my baptism. So, if you like, join us if you haven't, subscribe. Let me know in the comments below how I may support you. And until we talk again, best of all, get your vitamin D in, and you'll be blessed.